Mr. Bowles continues to say that the state is singling Ms. Guiterrez out and that we are holding her solely responsible for this incident. That is a lie.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't hear. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello and a warm welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Just 1 year before the death of Alina Hutchins, Hannah's friend Tyler Dyer was killed in a motorcycle accident. Hannah's boyfriend at the time, Aaron Butcher, who was riding Hannah's motorcycle, was involved in the same accident. According to TMZ, quote, Tyler's dad tells us 3 of them had been hanging out at a party prior to the accident, and Hannah admitted to cops she had seen both Tyler and Aaron drink 4 to 5 beers each before she opted to give Aaron the keys to her ride. Anything wrong with that picture? That's something that happened on the 15th of August, 2020. Before we get to the rest of this analysis, if you haven't already subscribed, please do. Bear in mind I've already done over 100 episodes on just this particular case. I basically followed it right from the beginning. I'm also covering the trial live, so if you're interested in that, do subscribe, please comment, hit the like button, and let's get started. Ironically, over the course of compiling over 100 videos on the Rust incident, one of the best analogies to illustrate negligence, one that I've used time and time again, is basically just reckless driving. If you drive and you don't have an intent to hurt anyone, but you can nevertheless hurt someone if you're driving recklessly, that is nevertheless a crime. Also, driving under the influence. You may not have the intention to hurt someone, but you should have foreseen that you could have. And so now we have another scenario in Hannah's recent backstory that involves another tragic loss of life, as well as the specter of intoxication. According to the New York Post, quote, the 24-year-old former model allegedly told police she saw Dyer and her boyfriend Butcher drink 4 to 5 beers each at the party, but she still gave her boyfriend, despite seeing this consumption, she still gave her boyfriend, who was already on probation, her boyfriend at the time, already on probation for driving under the influence, the keys to her own motorcycle so that the 2 men could leave. In a weird way, this echoes what happened on the set of Rust, doesn't it? Hannah hands someone else a loaded gun without properly checking it, without due care or due diligence, without a kind of an awareness of the context that she finds herself in. And guess what happens? Someone dies. Was she hungover or high? In August of 2020, was she hungover or high or intoxicated? Did that influence her decision-making when she handed her inebriated boyfriend the keys to her motorcycle in spite of a previous safety violation? And another way of looking at it is, if Hannah was dead sober, did she hand over the keys anyway? In other words, was that her attitude to the safety of others, the safety of other road users? Guiterrez-Reed's boyfriend was only supposed to be driving vehicles that had a breathalyzer attached, which her motorcycle didn't have. The men were riding alongside each other after leaving the party when Dyer lost control and crashed into a wall, according to the authorities. Butcher crashed after trying to avoid colliding with his friend, and obviously died. The cops said in a statement at the time that speed and alcohol appeared to be to blame for the crash. Dyer, Hannah's boyfriend's friend, died days later after being airlifted to a Las Vegas hospital. And so you have just like a complete copy of the situation in the sort of Vegas area to the one in New Mexico. You've got someone dying in an accident, but an accident that was waiting to happen. There'd been a previous safety issue, and then a person's airlifted to hospital and then they die shortly after that. Same happened in New Mexico. Meanwhile, Hannah's boyfriend was treated at a local hospital and released. Ominously, just days before Helena was killed, there was an incident on the set of Rust after a shotgun discharged that led the crew to discuss the movie The Crow and the death of Bruce Lee's son Brandon Lee on set. According to the Metro, quote, the cast members were so unsettled that they discussed Brandon Lee's death on set, with Hudson saying, Brandon Lee having died in 1993, that conversation came up a couple of times between my fellow cast members and I, meaning the cast members on Rust. He said, we're doing this the same way they did it then, 30 years ago. You got to double check, got to make sure, end quote. The Crow is one of the most recent and also famous movies involving someone dying accidentally through the use of a firearm. And get this, Hannah also appears to have a large tattoo of a raven or a crow on her shoulder. Didn't Hannah also say something about the crow in her police interrogation or somewhere? I seem to remember something like that. Anyway, do you think it's fair to say, as Hannah's defense has done, that Hannah is being unfairly singled out? Well, this was the prosecutor's response to that. I played part of that response at the beginning of this analysis. Let's hear the full response.
So, Mr. Bowles continues to say in his pleadings, and now during this hearing, that the state is singling Ms. Guiterrez out and that we are holding her solely responsible for this incident. That is a lie. Mr. Bowles knows that what he is saying is a lie. Mr. Halls was charged. Mr. Halls entered a plea. Hang on just a second. Mr. Halls was charged.
Mr. Bowles, you may do us a reply. Please let her finish.
Okay.
Mr. Halls was charged. Mr. Halls entered a plea. Mr. Baldwin has been indicted. The people who the state believes have criminal culpability for the death of Helena Hutchins have all been charged.
Interestingly, the three individuals mentioned are all of the three who handled the gun from where it was loaded to when it was fired. If one of those three had properly checked the firearm, the accident could have been prevented. But this also raises an interesting question. If someone is culpable in this case, and let's assume for the sake of argument that A, someone is culpable, and B, that more than one person is culpable, who is the most culpable here? Who do you think and why? I'd be interested to hear in the comments. Thank you for listening. Look out for my live stream of Day 3's coverage, and I'll see you guys there.